Well, Melania parents, damn it, Melania Trump's parents became citizens yesterday. Did you hear about that? Isn't that nice? Now, of course, Trump has vehemently and repeatedly denigrated the whole idea of what he calls chain migration. What it is families trying to stay together as they move around the planet. But Trump has used the term chain migration in a derogatory way. How many times? I never heard that term until, I mean, it sounds awful. It sounds like what we did to Africans in the 18th and 19th century, doesn't it? Chain migration. That's what it sounds like to me. So Melania, who got her citizenship, extended the citizenship chain to her parents, and they took it. So yesterday, Trump's Slovenian in-laws, Viktor and Amalija Knavs, Knavs, became U.S. citizens in a private ceremony in Manhattan, taking advantage of the family-based immigration program that Trump urinates on every chance he gets. Now, his base won't give a shit about this at all. They'll just, oh, it's a big deal. But I'm hoping that fair-minded people who might be, at one time in their lives, inclined to identify themselves as Republicans or moderates or whatever you want to call them, I hope they'll take notice. I hope they'll take notice of the fact that we seem to have two immigration systems. One for the people who have no power. They usually have their children stolen from them. God, I can't. I keep thinking about the kids that were snatched away from their parents because the parents sought protection here. Anyway, two immigration systems, one for people who have no power and one for the people who are coming in through the VIP entrance. And if you think that system doesn't exist, we saw it yesterday. Trump is an evil son of a bitch. He really is, in addition to being a hypocrite. But to do so blatantly, now to try not to draw attention to it, Melania didn't even show up. Of course, Trump never would. Trump doesn't give a fuck about family. And family means nothing to him, unless he's concerned that his oldest son might be ready to turn state's evidence against him. We'll see how that works out. So there was no chance that Donald Trump was going to show up for a ceremony that made his in-laws citizens. And Melania didn't go either. Now, I think with Melania, I think her husband said to her, stay your ass here at Mar-a-Lago. Don't even think about going up there. Because the fake news media will show up and they'll pretend like there's something wrong. Asked if Melania's parents had obtained citizenship through, quote, chain migration, their lawyer, Michael Wilder, said, quote, I suppose. Probably isn't a big Trump fan. He said chain migration is his word, dirtier way of characterizing what he called, quote, a bedrock of our immigration process when it comes to family reunification, end quote. Nah, he's not a Trump supporter. Not even. Melania had sponsored her parents to get their green cards. I did that once for somebody. I had to marry her for her to get her green card, which, by the way, is not green. It's a whole different story. She was from New Zealand. But this attorney who represented Melania's parents said in describing the process by which they had become citizens, quote, once they had the green card, they then applied for citizenship when they were eligible, end quote. Now, even as his in-laws were going through the process, and it does take a while. Back in November, Trump was shitting his pants about chain migration must end now. Some people come in and they bring their whole family with them who can be truly evil, not acceptable, he said in one of his tweets. And Stephanie Grisham, who is Melania Trump's communications director, said that because her parents, Melania's parents, are not part of the administration, Stephanie Grisham says, quote, I'm not commenting on them, end quote. Well, of course you're not. So Ms. Grisham, First Lady's communications director, referred all the questions to the West Wing. That means to Trump's little hole. And, of course, there was no response through emails or phone calls looking for comment. Now, of course, Trump is in Mar-a-Lago, so, you know. Now, under immigration law, under immigration statutes, and I remember this from 40 years ago when I helped this person, her parents would have needed to have their green cards for at least 5 years in order to apply for citizenship, and then you can apply. Now, it's not just residency. You also have to fulfill requirements that are considered character requirements. I guess that means don't get arrested during the 5 years. You have to have residency in this country, permanent residency. I know the person I helped was told, don't leave during the 5 years to go back to New Zealand and then come back. And as a result of that, she didn't see her parents for about 2 years, and finally her parents came here to visit. And you have to have some knowledge of the United States. Not necessarily historical knowledge, but so-called civic knowledge. How does the system work here? What kind of government do we have? Fascist, you're right. And the time to process an application for naturalization in New York City, which is apparently where Melania's parents live, that usually takes from 11 to 12 months. Now, their lawyer said that the couple had met the 5-year requirement, but he added, quote, I can't give further comment, end quote. And as to be expected, news of the citizenship ceremony caused comments on Twitter. Anna Navarro, a Republican strategist and political commentator, tweeted, according to the New York Times, quote, I guess when it's Melania's family, it's family reunification and should be applauded. Everybody else, it's chain migration and must be stopped, end quote. You know, Trump has referred to what he calls chain migration as a pathway for terrorists to come to this country. You don't suppose Melania's... Nah, couldn't be.